All right, guys, here we are doing the Europe Meta League tier list. I know I said I wasn't going to be doing this, but a lot of you have been asking for this and saying, Mint, I don't care about NA. Please tell me about my favorite region, the Europe Meta League. And here we are today to share some ball knowledge. However, that ball knowledge comes with a little bit of a disclaimer in the fact that today's the 18th. And I'm kind of cheating at this point because if you guys didn't know, the EML League has already started, 16th to 17th. 2 play days have already happened. And, you know, I needed those to kind of form the power rankings in my head. I think I know who's going to make the major now, so let's start talking about it. With that said, I believe, and maybe someone knows a little bit better and can tell me in the comments, but I believe it's the exact same format as NAL with that single round robin, best of one. We're going to be seeing them play twice a week for the most part. Some days or some weeks, maybe there's 1 game. Some weeks, maybe there's 3 games. And then the top 6 go on to qualify for that stage finals, which is down here where they have the chance to make the major, and the top 4 teams go on to make the major. Same as the NAL. Someone, if I don't know something, someone go ahead and tell me. But anyway, let's start talking about these teams, the power rankings, where they're going to finish, how their EML games have been going so far. And first up, we're going to be talking BDS. Now, this is not your same old BDS. If you haven't been following Pro League for a while, this is not Shaiko's team anymore. Wow, who are these guys? Freak, Lasmu, P4, Robbie, Virtue. I believe this is pretty much the old Wolves core. And they still have Leylun and Helby over there as the coaching staff as well. And they added Robbie and Virtue. Virtue coming from Secret, Robbie coming from Falcons. Robbie was a standout player, had a lot of really good events on the Falcons. And then Virtue, just a support goat, been around a while. What can't you like about Jake Virtue? Really good pickup for BDS, in my opinion. A lot of veteran leadership right there as well. And we did get to see these guys perform at Reload, and it wasn't too hot. It wasn't too good. Not gonna lie to you guys. They lost to FaZe and Furia. They were playing the format, right? Get the best 2 teams out of the way. That FaZe game though, 5-7, wasn't too bad. I think they were actually leading that at one point. It was actually looking pretty good on labs. Then went on to beat CAG 7-2, losing to Loud and FearX, and I don't think anyone realized how good FearX was going to be at this event. Probably caught him off guard a little bit. And then we did get to see, they didn't make any roster changes after Reload. Went into the EML League, losing to Secret 4-7 and then Wild 7-2. Kind of a good indicator, in my opinion, because I think I know where Secret's at, and I know where Wild's at. So for that reason, we're going to slap them right in the middle at the B tier. I think they are going to be a dark horse team. They have a lot of good players on this roster. I believe if they could put it together by the end of this stage, I think they can qualify for a top 6 spot and then have a chance to make the major as a dark horse team. And if you guys have seen the NAL tier list, usually I will put the top 4 teams who I think are going to make the major at the top. And then if you're in the B tier team, you have a chance to upset one of these teams in my head. And we did get to see that in the NAL where Wildcard is a B tier team for me. And they actually went on to beat SSG, who is an A tier team. And that's just what can happen. It's best of ones. It's Siege. Yeah, anything can happen. Anything can go down. I think, again, they're going to be that dark horse team to look out for near the end of stage 1. Might be able to upset some teams. Falcons, S tier. Who are the Falcons? Falcons are the old BDS team. This is Shaiko's team, guys. This is Shaiko's team. This is the team that's kind of been carrying Europe a little bit into relevancy. Let's be honest here. They're the team that finishes always in the top 4. They're competitive. They have a chance to win every single event, but do they? I mean, if it's EWC, they do. Otherwise, they still finish top 2 for the most part. But we did get to see them at Reload. They lost to Loud, and I think Loud's a really good team, so whatever. Wildcard won 7-3, M80 lost 5-7, and then FearX won 7-3, and that was a pretty good FearX team, I think people could admit. And then they made the playoffs and went on and honestly went against a W7M team that was really, really hitting their stride. They look really good with Paulu. I can't lie. They look really, really good with Paulu. Ended up falling to them. And then in the EML, it's been up and down as well. Getting absolutely destroyed by New Look VP 2-7 and then winning against Mako 7-3. They've kind of been up and down, but at the end of the day, this is a team that no doubt in my mind is going to make the major. And then you can say what you want about them internationally, but they're always competitive, and every team wishes they could be just like them and have a chance to win every single event that they attend. It's an absolute god squad of a roster. Yeah, it's only a matter of time for those guys. So again, that one's easy. Let's go to Fnatic, who's next, and this is an interesting team. So this is a team, again, we got to see at Reload, and it wasn't very good. They lost to DZ 3-7, they beat Scars 7-0, and then they lost to Loud and FaZe 2-7 and 3-7. And honestly, against the good teams, only getting 3 rounds for the most part. 3, 2, 3. They don't look competitive at all against good teams. So they went on, made a roster change. I believe they brought on Wizard, who is kind of this stomping equivalent for Europe, a player from Xbox that went on to play in the Challenger Series, but really, really good, and then went into PL, I believe. Again, that's all I hear is he's supposed to be the EU equivalent to Stompin. I've only watched a couple of his matches at this point. He has looked pretty good, I think, in this Wolves game, 5-7. I think he dropped like 14 kills or something like that. I don't have the exact number on me, but they were getting destroyed in this game, and they ended up bringing it back and making it competitive, and then they did end up beating Wolves 7-4. I think they're a newer team that's got to gel together, right? Adding Wizard onto the team, he's in a big role. Obviously, they got Sarks. Groovy comes from Secret. Daypack is that long-time support player GOAT that it's just been around for a while. I need to see more from them, and for that reason, I'm going to put them in the C tier. Until they can kind of prove that they can kind of win some of the bigger games, right? That 5-7 against Wolves, for example, like it was close. They brought it back, but Wolves probably shouldn't have let it get that close. But I do think they're a team that we could see sneak up into the B tier. I think they just need time to gel with Wizard on the roster. I think they added a ton of firepower. But I think they're more so going to be gunning to like seeing their improvements that they can kind of get in stage 1 and then seeing what they need to do to make themselves competitive in stage 2. I think they're going to be a team to look out for into the future. But as of right now, I have them as a C tier team. Next up, we have G2, aka Stompin's team. So Stompin, if we don't know, you're living under a rock at this point, but Stompin, the first NA import to any region, and went over to the EU League. Maybe I don't want to say any region, but at least into EU, I believe he's the first NA import. Joined G2, taking Uno's roles, and if you saw G2 at Reload, it was not very good. I mean, they lost to SSG, they lost to FearX, they lost to Wildcard. They did that pulling it together and beating Cloud9 and DZ. So upsetting for us NA fans. How could G2 beat us? But they were not looking very good overall. And I think they'd be the first to say something fell off at that event. Uno was also not performing very well, so they did end up making a change, and then they brought in Stompin. And it looks like Stompin's kind of just playing Uno's roles at this point and just getting really, really comfortable onto the G2 roster and figuring out what it's like to be a pro over there. So I think they're kind of working him in, and it's been pretty good. I think they've only had 2 weeks of practice, I think I read on Twitter, and they did end up already beating the Wolves 7-4 and Seeker 8-6. So they've actually looked pretty dang good, and for that reason, I'm going to throw them into the A tier. I think they're going to go on. If they've only had 2 weeks of practice and they're already beating these kind of teams, they should be in the top 4. They should make the next major. Give Stompin more time to gel into the roster, give him that experience, and I think the new look G2 has been looking really, really good. Gen G, I believe, is one of the newest organizations to join EML, and I believe also that this is the old ENTS roster. So we have the core of Azox, Naquo, and Skies, and then they are adding in former Wolves players, Asa and Deadshot. We didn't get to see them at Reload, but we did get to see, obviously, the 2 play days in EML, because I'm cheating here. They lost to Mako 7-8, and then they lost to the new look VP 3-7. Also for me, because they lost to Mako 7-8, I'm going to put them in that C tier. I did end up watching their game versus VP, and they looked actually pretty good strategically on defense. I will give them that. I think it was a 3-3 defensive half versus VP. But just like I said in the NAL tier list, and what I've seen from newer teams like this, is that they really, really struggle on attack, especially against the juggernaut, like top 4 teams. They didn't look like they knew how to problem solve very well. It looked like, I don't know, maybe that's IGLing problems or adaption problems or something like that. But that's where they were really struggling, and they need to figure the attacking problems out if they're going to be competitive into the top 4. And I don't know if they're going to be able to figure that out in time. So for that reason, again, I'm going to put them in C tier. I think they'll be competitive with the teams around, in the B tier and in the D tier, but I don't think they're going to be competitive against any teams in the A tier and above, at least for stage 1. Next up, we have Mako and Wild. Now, I'm going to combine these two together because in the EU League, if you didn't know, it's the top 2 teams from the Challenger Series qualify for Pro League, whereas in NA, I believe it's only 1. So it's the top 2 teams. Mako actually ended up winning Challenger Series, and Wild ended up finishing 2nd in the Challenger Series. So Mako is it a full Italian team. I believe we also have seen them around in T2 a while. I don't have as much ball knowledge maybe on this as some of you guys, but I feel like I've seen Aqui and Lolo around a while, but they also have Dora, Teb, and Ghost. I don't know if they've just been like a core kind of in T2 again for a while. This was I do remember Gemini being a player, but it looks like Ghost joined January 29th. So it looks like they've kind of been together for a while. Did, again, end up winning recent matches. They did end up winning Challenger Series, but they, in the EML, they ended up beating 8-7 against Gen G, which is pretty impressive for a Challenger team. That's a team that's probably right on their level by that 8-7 result, and then ended up losing to Falcons 3-7. I think it's pretty indicative of kind of where they're at. I would put them in the C tier, probably just ahead of the Gen G, since they did end up beating them 8-7. But again, just like the NAL, it's a newer team. I need to see them in some of those more big matches be competitive. I mean, losing to the Falcons 3-7. I don't think they're going to be able to piece it together for stage 1, but might be something to look forward to in stage 2. If they can kind of figure out their identity and figure out, how can we take down and be competitive against some of these top teams, get the experience that they need. And that moves on to Wild, which Wild is going to be the first D tier team for me, or we'll see if they're the only one. Wild is that team that finished 2nd place in the Challenger Series. And honestly, we've seen them in the EML at the moment, and they haven't really looked that competitive, losing to Fnatic 4-7, losing to BDS 2-7. So haven't looked that competitive. At the moment, they look like the team that if you're playing against that week, you need to get that win. Their roster is, again, some newer players to Tier 1, Beamsy, Evan, Garen, Matt, Sneak, and it kind of looks like they're from all over the place. We got UK, we got Brazilian, we got Spaniard. So we're all over the place on this one. But I think these guys, I don't want to say that they're just happy to be in T1. Obviously, everyone wants to be competitive, and obviously everyone wants to win. But at the moment, these guys are they're in T1. They need to get the experience. They need to, again, figure out their identity, start putting together some pieces, figuring out their roles, all that. Evan, I believe, is a really good up-and-coming IGL. So use stage 1, get the experience you need, figure out what can make you more competitive in stage 2. I think should be their goal. So for that reason, again, we're going to slop in the D tier. Maybe we'll see them upset some teams into the future. Next up, we have Secret. And Secret is going to be Savage, GM, Adrian, Mowgli, and Newers, not sure how you pronounce that. I apologize for that. But Secret, big fans of. They got Mowgli from Wolves, who I've always kind of thought was like a mini Shaco. That guy, I've scrimmed against him on some of my teams, and he just drops 20 on you. He can just go absolutely nuke. And I think that adds a lot of firepower to a team like Secret. So I think that was a fantastic pickup. We got to see them at Reload, whereas I think overall a success. They went 3-2 at Reload, beating Liquid, beating Loud, beating M80. Some pretty good teams. Losing to Furia 4-7, losing to Wildcard 2-7. I think the format kind of got them, so they did end up making the playoffs. And then in the EML, also continuing pretty good results, beating BDS 7-4, a team that they should be able to beat, and then G2 6-8. It was a very, very close game. But again, looking at all the results, looking at how experienced their roster is, I really like the Mowgli pickup as well. I'm going to be putting them in the A tier right behind G2. I think that game was a good tell of where they're at. Just lost to G2. I think so. 6-8. They did beat BDS 7-4, so I think they're above BDS. I think they're a team that's going to make the top 4. I mean, easily make the top 6 with a chance to make the top 4, but I think they will end up making the major, and they could be a scary team to look out for as they all kind of gel together and have more games under their belt. Next up, here comes the bias. This is my favorite team and has been my favorite team to watch in the EML for a really long time. VP, I'm going to put them at absolute S tier. There was a lot of question marks coming in with VP, with the biggest one being, is the ban phase going to screw them? Sorry, I gotta pull this back up. Where did my EML go? I accidentally closed it. Is the ban phase going to hurt them, or is the ban phase going to help them? And I think by the games that we were able to watch already, that the ban phase is only helping them. So not only are they able to get rid of Azami, which they were perma banning all the time, but now they can get rid of another operator that annoys them, whether it's Clash, whether it's Abir, whether it's Cade, and only help their attacks even further. And then on defense, they can just get rid of the shields. They don't got to play against double shields and all that, which they've struggled with in the past, and have shown even on Twitter their frustrations with the meta. So we've been able to see them use the ban phase in favor of them. And then what are teams going to do to them? They're going to ban hard breachers. So is VP going to be able to adapt? Are they going to run double shields? And we actually did get to see them in that Gen G game where they were running joystick was on blitz a lot of the time. We also got to see always on a fuse shield. So they were not afraid to run double shields, and also they weren't like the slow old VP they're used to. I was watching joystick on a gym round on Clubhouse where a minute 30 of the round, this guy's just walking in with blitz absolutely alone by himself because he caught a gap. It looked like a brand new VP. They obviously destroyed Falcon 7-2, and then they should be beating a team like Gen G, but they beat them 7-3. They look very, very good. At the moment, they look like the best team in EML, but could the Falcons obviously beat them in the playoffs or something like that? Probably, but at the moment see no reason VP shouldn't go on to win EML or at least get the top 4 spot, and I'll be excited to watch those guys into the future. And last up, certainly not least, one of the most interesting teams, Wolves. Now, Wolves is not the old Wolves. The old Wolves, think of BDS, right? This is basically the old Wolves roster. New Wolves, they're a little bit of a mishmash in a sense. Kind of into the breach with, I believe, Azure. They got leader from Bleed, who, when he was over at Bleed, he's looking like a real good leader over there. Sorry for the pun right now, but really, really good experience, and he was fragging in that role. Noodle, who's been around the EU and the Saudi leagues for a long time, brings a lot of experience, and a former M80 player as well. Tyron, old player from M&M, and most importantly, I believe Kendrew, who longtime IGL for Into the Breach, is now newly a head coach for Wolves. So again, big smash roster, but with their first 2 games, some up and down, like 4-7 against G2, who, if we look, A-tier team, right? Not a bad debut on Lair for them. And then going on to beat Fnatic 7-5. This is going to be a team. Oh, and they also say Helby and Lailoon, they're on BDS. That's the Wolves over here. So with that all said, again, they are a newer team that needs time to put it together, but I'm going to put them in that B tier because they have a lot of experienced players with Leader, with Azure, with Tyrant, with Kendra being the head coach and being a strategy guy that can help guide these guys into the right direction. I think they have a lot of experience on the roster over teams such as like Fnatic, who's got a lot of some rookies, Mako rookies, Wild rookie, right? They have the experienced players. They are able to be kind of competitive against these A-tier teams. We were able to see the 4-7 versus G2. Matter of time, maybe by the end of stage 1, they're able to actually upset them, get into the top 6, get into that double elimination bracket, and have a chance to make the major. But I think I'm going to put them in B tier as of now, a team to kind of keep your eyes on and see how Coach Kenny can kind of guide them for the until the end of stage 1. I think the goal for them is to just end on a good note and get ready for stage 2, but could they slip into the major? Absolutely. Okay, guys, so that's going to be my ball knowledge for EU. Maybe I'm absolutely wrong, and you guys can tell me so in the comments, but this is what I'm thinking, at least for now. I think these are going to be your 4 teams representing EU into the next major, and again, I'm really excited about watching VP. If you guys haven't been watching them yet, then well, what are you doing? And go check them out. By the way, more EU games will be being played on the 23rd and 24th, which is next week, and if you guys want, I will be streaming and co-streaming every single game on my Twitch channel, watching NA, watching EML. So let's come hang out. Let's watch some games. Thanks guys for watching the video, and we'll see you guys in the next one.